You just checked your bank account. And this time, you didn't scroll for long. Not because everything looked good, but because you already knew what you were going to see. The same number, maybe slightly higher than last month. Maybe not, but definitely not high enough to make you feel safe. And for a second, you just sit there, staring at it, because there's this quiet question in your head that you don't usually say out loud. If I had to stop working, would this actually be enough? You try to do the math. Rent, food, bills, emergencies. A few months, maybe a year, if you stretch it. And then what? That's the part your brain doesn't want to answer. So you close the app. You distract yourself. You tell yourself you'll think about it later. But that feeling doesn't go away. It just waits. My name is Scott, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who work their entire lives still end up financially stressed at the end of it. If you're someone who's trying to build something, trying to save, trying to get ahead, but deep down feels like time is moving faster than your money, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because here's the thing, there's a number that almost everyone believes in: $500,000. $500,000. It sounds like the goal, the finish line, the number where everything finally makes sense. But here's what most people don't realize. That number is both too high for most people to reach, and at the same time, not high enough to feel secure. Yeah, that's the trap. Now look, when you actually look at real people, not financial influencers, not success stories, just normal people, the majority of retirees don't have anywhere near $500,000. They're sitting somewhere around $150,000, maybe $200,000 if they're lucky. And that's after decades of working. Decades. Let that sink in. 40 years of effort. And that's the outcome. Now you might be thinking, how is that even possible? This won't be me. That's what everyone thinks. And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because most of those people didn't plan to fail. They didn't wake up one day and decide, I'm going to mess up my retirement. They just followed a pattern, a very normal, very common pattern. They delayed. They told themselves, I'll start saving seriously when I earn more. Then life got expensive. Responsibilities increased, and saving got pushed further and further into the future. Here's what most people don't realize. Delay is silent. It doesn't feel dangerous in the moment. Skipping 1 year doesn't feel like a big deal. Skipping 5 years still feels fixable. But when you zoom out, those lost years destroy your biggest advantage: time. And time is everything in building wealth. Let me show you why. Imagine two versions of you. Same person, same income, same intelligence. The only difference is when they start. Version 1 starts early. Small amounts. Nothing impressive, just consistent investing over time. Version 2 waits. They tell themselves they'll start when things are more stable, when income is higher, when life is less chaotic. And then one day, they finally start. But now they're behind. So they try to compensate. They invest bigger amounts, they push harder, and still, they struggle to catch up. Why? Because compounding doesn't care how hard you try later. It rewards time. This is where it gets interesting, because most people completely underestimate how powerful time actually is. They think investing is about picking the right stock, timing the market, finding the perfect opportunity. It's not. It's about staying in the game long enough for your money to grow. And every year you delay, you shorten that timeline. Now here's where things really start to hit. Let's say somehow you actually make it to $500,000. You did it. You reached the number everyone talks about. What happens next? This is the part nobody explains clearly. That $500,000 has to last you possibly 20, 25, even 30 years. When you turn that into income, you're looking at roughly $20,000 a year if you want it to last. That's around $1,600 a month. Pause for a second. Really think about that number. Can you live on that comfortably? Not survive, live. Because that's the difference. And this is where people realize something shocking. The goal they've been chasing for decades doesn't actually solve the problem they thought it would. So now you're stuck between two uncomfortable truths. Most people don't reach $500,000. And even if they do, it might not be enough. So what do you do with that? Do you panic? Do you give up? Do you just hope things work out? No. Here's the thing. The goal was never $500,000. The goal is control. Control over your time. Control over your choices. Control over whether you're forced to work or you have the option not to. And that doesn't come from one big number. It comes from building a system that works over time. This is where people who succeed think differently. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They don't rely on motivation. They don't try to catch up with big risky moves. They focus on consistency, boring, repetitive, almost invisible actions that compound over years. Saving every month, investing automatically, increasing contributions slowly, staying disciplined when it's not exciting. That's it. It doesn't look impressive day to day, but over time, it becomes powerful. And here's the part that matters most. If you're watching this right now, you're not at the end. You're somewhere in the middle, which means you still have something most people waste without realizing: time. Maybe not as much as you want, but enough to change your outcome if you actually use it. So here's what you do. First, you face reality. No more avoiding. No more guessing. You open your accounts, calculate everything, and understand exactly where you stand, because you can't fix what you refuse to look at. Second, you build a system. Automatic investing. No decisions required every month. It just happens, even if it's small, especially if it's small, because starting creates momentum. Third, you increase gradually. Every raise, every extra income, you allocate a portion to your future. You don't wait until later. You act now. Fourth, you stay consistent. No stopping, no restarting, no emotional decisions, just steady progress. Because consistency is what separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. And finally, you stop underestimating how much your future depends on what you do today. Because the truth is, the people who retire comfortably didn't do something extraordinary. They didn't get lucky. They just made slightly better decisions over and over again for years. That's it. So the next time you open your banking app and you feel that same discomfort, don't close it. Don't ignore it. Don't tell yourself, "I'll deal with it later." Because later is exactly how people end up with less than they need. Use that feeling. Let it push you into action. Because that moment, that quiet realization, that uncomfortable truth, that's where everything can change. If you made it this far, don't just watch and move on. Hit the like button so this reaches more people who need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel for more real, no BS finance videos like this. And most importantly, comment below your current goal, not your dream, your actual next step. Because when you write it down, it stops being an idea and starts becoming a plan. I'll see you in the next one.